Hi, I'm Annette Tarpley, founder of Pop Poetry. Pop Poetry, listen to me. I am the founder of Pop, the passion of poetry. It's been a long day. I've been up since 4 this morning. I apologize. I decided to try something. It's called Pop Craft. This may be the only episode. I make these ornaments that you just saw if you saw the beginning of the episode, but they actually look better in person, not even on this camera, but you can't really see them so good there. I've made these for years. What do you do with them when you have them? Um, well, if my Aunt Mary's watching, which I'm sure she isn't, she has them all over her house and her wall and her lamps. But I like to put, I mean, they can go on a Christmas tree. One year somebody had me make that her like 30 some gold ones, and she had them all on her tree. I've had my tree that way one time, but I just put them on like little knobs of cabinets and stuff. Usually is what I do. But they make good gifts. I make them out of wire ribbon. I don't know if anyone else does this. I started this a few years back. I've done this for several years. I've made hundreds of them, and they make good gifts to friends. If you're doing like a Secret Santa, I give them. One thing that's great for is to give them to people in nursing homes, and they love them. I used to work in a nursing home, and I gave them one year, and outside of each and every one of the rooms hung their little ornament all year round. So it was kind of cute. So I thought it's very simple to make, and I thought I'd try to make it and show you how to make it if you're interested. If you're interested in doing a pop craft kind of thing, if you have something that you do that you can teach people how to do, that would be great. Don't know how often we'll do it, but if you have something crafty that you can do, then let me know, and that would be great. So I pre-cut some of the wire ribbon. I don't know how long this is. Maybe um, maybe about 18 inches. I'm really bad about things, but this would be your base one. I usually do at least 2 layers. A lot of the ones I've created recently are actually 3 layers, which are more complex and take more time. They have 3 layers. This one just has 2 layers and then the embellishment in the middle. And I use lots of different things for embellishment. I spent a bit of money last night buying a bunch off of Etsy. I was just happy that I got some. But I think I got these at a local craft store. So I use those. I've used flowers. I've used pine cones. I've used little Christmas bells. You can use about anything, whatever your imagination will do. But so you use wire ribbon, but the first thing you do is take out the wires, and you can repurpose them if you want. I have before, but I don't do it too often. But I usually just take the wire out like that, voila. And I have pre-done some needles, some threads on needles. So I have a few of these because it takes a while. So all you do is like a running stitch. And you start at one end. And a running stitch anyone can do, even if you can't sew, because I'm not a sewer. It's just in and out. So you go in and out, in and out, in and out until you get to the end of it. I didn't think about it. I probably should have been reciting poetry while I was doing this in and out stuff. I only know 3 poems by heart. Y'all have heard them many times if you've ever watched me, so it gets kind of boring. But let's see. The Ballad of Ned I've done a million times. My I'm Getting Divorced poem I've done many times. Those are getting old. And because of this, and there's lots of glitter, you get glitter everywhere. So I just kind of go in and out, in and out, in and out. And one thing I do use on this too is very heavy duty thread. So I usually use like upholstery thread. There's one that is like a quilting thread that is stronger. Because if you don't, sometimes it breaks, and then whatever you've just done unravels, and you have to do the whole thing over again. So I leave a little tail of my thread there. Don't pull it all the way through, and you just keep going in and out until you're at the end. And it really doesn't take that much time. I'm going to try to hurry up and do this. It doesn't. There's some comments there. I could probably take a couple of those. So glitter everywhere. I don't know if you see it, but literally is cascading down all over me. So Christmas time and stuff when I'm making this, I usually have glitter all over my face. Yeah, without even doing that. So it just happens to, I'm like a magnet for glitter. I think while I'm doing this and I'm almost to the end, there's a couple comments, so I'll see. Please identify yourself. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. Truly a gifted artist. Oh, you know, I wish I could say this was a gift. I think, though, I've never seen anybody else do these, but I've done them for many years. They say that once you have an idea, I guess, like, I don't know, hundreds of other people have already thought of it, but I've looked on YouTube before, haven't seen this before, and we're almost to the end. I said that just a little bit ago. Um, so the pop anthology is coming out next month. Thank you, Eureka Roby, who should do an episode of this because she's very crafty. She makes amazing jewelry and does a lot of it out of polymer clay. She's got her own site on Facebook. Can't remember what the name of it is. Something probably to do with her name. So all the way to the end, I have two ends. So usually I put the side, the pretty side, um, in the in the middle. So I fold it like that, grab two ends, and just pull them. So when you pull them, it makes a circle basically, and it is showering glitter all over my dog. There won't be any glitter left on this after I'm done. So once you do this, then you tie it. And this is the tricky part. So I usually try to conserve thread. So I'll like pull it all the way until there's a little one side so I can reuse my thread. And forgive me for a moment so I tie several knots in it and to make it sturdy because I have had them come apart if I don't tie enough knots in it. So I just tie multiple knots and go round and round. And anyway, so almost done with that. And then I just cut the ends off. So that's there. Done with that. Going to cut the ends off, and that's it. And then you make what you call the seam. So I'm going to make the seam. And I make the seam and I glue it. I have a glue gun. So once I have this, then I kind of make it lay right. So I just kind of fashion it and make sure that it's, laying right, and it can be fixed later. It's kind of forgiving. So, so you make a seam with the two ends that come together. You put them on the inside, and you're going to glue that. So usually there's some excess left over, which we'll cut off. So I find kind of where it lays the best, where it looks just right. And then I'll just add some glue from my hot glue gun. I think I have it on hot right now. I use it on the low heat usually because I end up burning myself. And this is one, it's going to be burning because it's got some holes in it. So I'll get some glue on my fingers. So yeah, this is really hot. I should turn it down to the lower setting. So once that's glued, then you just cut off the ends. So cut off the ends. I don't know if you see that. And that's it. So you want to make sure you don't cut the stitches you just stitched. I've done that before. So that is done. And then what I do, I have them somewhere. I think I put them up here. No, I did not. I have them in the bag still. I get these and I buy these usually because it's cheaper than me making them. And I've done them by hand before, but I get these just felt, circle felt. This is probably an inch and this is maybe 2 inches or so. And so what I do is it kind of makes it look finished, but it also helps keep it kind of the pleating of it. It pleats, keeps it kind of in. You can kind of manipulate and keep it nice. So what I do is just fill the whole back part with glue, and then I'll put it on the back part of it. So that's going to be the first layer. So put it on the back part, and then once that's done, then I can kind of manipulate and layer this so it looks right as far as the pleats and so forth. So it's a bit forgiving for a little bit until the glue dries, and then of course it isn't. So once that's done, which it pretty much is, then we do the next layer. So that's layer 1. That's the bottom layer. So after that's done, then I do the second layer. So generally speaking, most of the ones I've done, I've just done 2 layers of this. It actually looks really nice if you can do the 3 layers. So what I have next, I'm kind of doing this off the cuff because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do as far as pieces. So that's, I think what I'll do for this one is, so this is I didn't probably cut this to the right size. So this is going to be the next layer. Whatever your next layer is, I know what I did. I made this. I was going to make this my next layer. So whatever your next layer is, it's going to have to be one that the width isn't as big as the other one. So you can take this and cut it. And usually I use the little cut parts actually for the hanger. So later on, like for instance, I cut this off of one of the ends and then I'll use this for a hanger. So I kind of repurpose it. So, so this is kind of the normal size, and then this, and they do have, ribbon that's about that size that you don't have to cut. I did cut this from a size about this big, so you just need it smaller. And then again, you do the same thing as far as the in and out of the stitching. Like I said, I should have. I'll try to read. I'm going to try to read a poem while I do this, which should be interesting because I'll lose my place. So forgive me. I don't know if I have. Let's see if I have anything interesting to read. I wrote one recently that is Alan did a YouTube video on. I think I'll do this one instead. So it's called I'm Responsible for My Own Happiness. True story. So again, I'm doing the, then you need to decide, like for instance on this one has a seam on the bottom, which normally shows. So that's not going to unravel if you have it on the end, or it's not going to fray. And then this is kind of an open end, which I guess, you can do it either way. But I think I'm going to leave this for the end as far as the one that's not going to fray. That means I'm going to be putting my stitches on the part that will fray. So I'm going to bring my stitches in so it's a little more into it. So like I'm going into, maybe a fourth of an inch into here. So it's not going to, come out. So we'll in and out, in and out, in and out, and then it won't take me long to do this. I was going to try to do, maybe I should try to do poetry. Maybe I should this isn't really poetry, is it? It's crafts. So I don't even have to try to entertain you or keep you from being bored. So again, running stitch in and out, in and out, in and out until the end, using the thread that is heavy duty thread so it doesn't break off. Again, I use like upholstery thread, and you can do this very quickly. I usually do several on the end before I so I'm going to pull it through. Again, you don't want to pull it through all the way. You leave a little bit of a tail. And we're almost to the end. And then we will bring it together. So we, as in you're helping me with this. So all the way to the end, I'm going to go and almost there. I could have been doing a lot bigger stitches. Sometimes I do littler ones. Sometimes I do bigger ones. All the way to the end, almost there. A couple more stitches, and we're done. So then pull it through. So we got a tail here, and we have a tail on the other end. Again, I usually take the pretty side, the good side, and put it on the inside, and then bring it together. And it is raining. I don't even think you can see it's raining glitter all over, but bring the two ends together. That makes the circle. So sometimes if I want, like for instance, if I want it to cover a larger area, then the width of this, I'll make it looser so it's actually going to be bigger, so I won't pull it as tight, so it'll be bigger. But this one I want to be kind of loose, a little loose. So I have glitter all over. I will be bathing in glitter. So again, I just tie it several times, and then that will make the second layer. And what we'll do is make the seam like before, and then cut off the excess, and then put it on, and then glue it on. So bring it together. I don't know if you can see this. Anyway, so bring it together. I wanted this one a little looser, so I'm not going to do it as tight. And there. So this one's going to be a bit bigger. I'm going to make a couple more knots, and then I'm done with this. And almost done. I usually do this, do it a couple of times so I don't have to do as many knots. So I'll go round and round, and then I won't have to make quite as many. So done that, and now I'll cut off the ends, and we'll make the seam. I'm cutting off the ends, which you can't see, but it's just you're cutting close to the knot. And then we're making the seam. Again, like before, you kind of bring the two ends together here. See how it looks, eye it. So that's kind of how it's going to look. And so I'm going to put my glue to make my seam. You put it up a little bit on where you wanted it to be, as far as kind of make the seam with your hands beforehand. So there you go. Hot glue. I did turn the gun down, although it's still hot. All right. So, all right. So here we go. So now we cut the seam again. Again, try not to cut what you just stitched. So be real careful about that because it defeats the purpose and you'll have to do it all over again. So now we're going to put this layer on this layer. So what I do once I find the seam that I made from before, so here's the seam. I keep this kind of at the bottom when I'm doing it, the bottom here. And then when I go to lay this one on top of it, I put that seam on top of the other seam. I like to keep the seams together. So, so next I'm going to glue this, and I think I'm running out of glue. This gun that I have is very weird because it constantly gloops, meaning it has something coming out of it all the time. And I'm not really happy with it. I should have brought a piece of foil down here. So in other words, the wax is going everywhere, a gloop. So it's glooping everywhere. So here, you have to hurry when you do this because it's, it's going to. So put one on top of the other, line up the seams, and I'm going to kind of press that down, okay? And then we have the two layers. So those are two layers. So you can't really see this on the camera. You can see it more where I am. Of course, the colors are always not the same. But this is a rose gold on the bottom. This is a gold, rose gold and gold. So looks pretty gold, doesn't it? So I want to put something else on it to make it less gold. So I think what I'm going to do actually on the top layer is I'm going to use some red ribbon. This is red velvet ribbon, and this is, I'm going to make a 3-layer one. So this will be my last one. It's beautiful ribbon, but the bad thing about this particular ribbon is that it is thick as far as the material, so it's harder to stitch through. And again, I'm taking out the wire because you don't keep the wire. There are, well, I'll show you. There's a ribbon here that I use that I can't take the wire out. So there's some ribbon that has it throughout it. If you take, like for instance, this is a ribbon you don't take the ribbon out of, the wire out of, because it would ruin the integrity of the ribbon. It's the wire makes up this mesh. If I take all the wire out, it's going to mess that up. So you can't take the ribbon out of that, or can't take the wire out of that. So you just leave that. So next, I'm going to get another pre-done up, hopefully. Ta-da! Thread, and this has got tons of glitter on it. So this is the velvet one, and it's just going to be in and out, in and out, in and out again. Now the thing about, I told you that it's harder to do this as far as it's thicker material. It's hard to do the running stitch on it, but this has kind of little perforated holes in it. So when sometimes you get lucky and kind of get in the perforated hole, and then it makes it easier. So in and out till the end. It's not going to take long to do this. This one I don't put as many on the needle with because it's hard to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this through. And then this, you kind of got to tug on the end of it to get it through. So let's see. So pretty. I like your necklace. Oh, thank you. I can watch you all day. Love crafts. Great. I don't know how to do well, I know how to do a few, but not many. But so good morning, dear Annette. Hello, everyone who's watching. And I'll be done with this third one in just a minute. Again, I want to pull this through because it's thicker and harder to pull through. And I'm going to be done with this in just a minute. probably making almost, you can sometimes make these stitches too small or too, and it's going to lay according to how big or small you put these running stitches in. I don't know if I made some of these a little bit too big, but it'll be whatever it is in the end. Okay, so almost done into the end, and oh, goodness, this material is not the funnest to go through, so you just kind of got to muddle through it. I've also done lace before. Lace is really pretty to use too. I have a bunch of lace somewhere. I have literally hundreds of spools of ribbon, tons. Whenever I do something craft, unfortunately, I get really into it, and over time buy quite a bit. And there's always new. I still have a hard time saying no to really pretty ribbon when I'm out. So even though I have enough to last a lifetime. So at the end of this, I'm going to pull it through, and so then I have my two tails like before, and I'm going to bring the two tails together. Again, I put the pretty side on the inside, leave the other side out, pull the two tails together, and it makes the circle. On this one, I do want as tight as I can get it. It's harder to get these tighter because of the material. So, and you got to be careful that you don't tug too hard, that you'll break your thread. Another reason why I use a really heavy duty thread. So this one's kind of just botched up right now, but I'm going to go ahead and start tying it. And again, I like to conserve my thread, so I usually pull it out, have the short end, so I can use this thread again. So I'm just going to do lots of knots. I'll do the first one, and then the next one, again, I kind of go around and around, so I do fewer knots, and that pretty much secured that. I find that, like, if that was all I did, I find that a lot of times it's not enough to when I go start to manipulating the ribbon. So I kind of sometimes do overkill with the knots. One more round here, and then I'll be done. And then again, I cut off the ends close to where the knot is, and that's the end of that. Again, I need to make my seam. Now, that was a pretty large piece for this, as far as I know I'm going to have more than I need for this. So, and it has to do with how it lays. So again, I kind of look at this, and then sometimes the seam part might actually have a lot of fabric in it, because I think, oh wow, I made that too big. If I have all that fabric in there, it's going to be hard to pleat. So for instance, this one I have quite a bit of fabric left over where I want it to be. So this is kind of where I want it to be. So I'm going to find where I need to glue it, which is kind of up top here where I wanted that seam. I'm going to put my glue, and yeah, if I can get it to go, there it goes. Okay. It goes all over my table, but it doesn't want to go on the side where I want it to. So done with that, and then I'll just bring them together, and voila. And that's the end of that. And again, I need to cut the excess off. And this is when you have that big excess like I do on this one, you have to be very careful not to cut the stitches. It's almost like you have to cut around it, because if I was going to cut just like right here, like where it normally would be, it's going to cut the stitches. So you have to be really careful. And then you have to be careful not to cut the part you just glued. So I'm going to cut that end off. I'm going to have to go around a little bit on the side of it so I don't cut the stitches, and that would defeat the purpose. All right, so that's the end of that. So there's some times where I do this, not in this particular time, I don't think, but where I'll do that, and there might be a little excess here, and I might just kind of angle it a little bit. And you'll figure it out once you start doing it, if you ever start to do it. So this is my middle part, and that's what we created. That's going to go in the middle of the other two, which I think has dropped to the floor. There you go. So this is the other two layers. It was rose gold and gold, and then we're going to put the red on top of it. So I'm going to get some glue, put it on top of here, and really glue this. All right, so I got a lot of glue on there, and now we're going to put it on top. And again, I keep all the seams together. So the seams down here on the bottom, I'm going to match it up with the other seams. I always like those to be the same way, and those are done as far as so this is what we have now, and that is this. Let me arrange this a little differently. So that is this 3 layers. So we just put that on top of there. So so it's really stark. You got this. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's too dark for that. I don't know. But we're going to embellish it. We're going to put something in the middle of it, so it's not going to be so. I think it'll be fine once it's done here. I'm just trying to get this glue to. I think that this is going to maybe be too small. I tend to like very pearly, blingy kind of middles for it. I think that's going to be too small. And my repertoire, I just bought a bunch last night, but it's going to take a while for them to come. But I do actually have a large one that I noticed last night. I've just got some odds and ends in here. It has different things in here as far as supplies, beads, and I could put a bell in the middle of it. Typically not my favorite thing to do, because even though it's Christmas and stuff like that, but it might be appropriate and big enough for this one, and it might be the thing that sets it off. I don't know. So this would be the bell in the middle. Still don't know if I like it. I'm such a girly, like old Victorian-y kind of stuff. I just so I have other pieces here. This would be great, except for it is missing. Hi. It is missing a it's really funny because I just looked up on my screen, and I paused the video earlier that I did with Robert Sells. So I just said hi, because when I looked up, my mouse was over it, and I saw Robert Sells' face, and I thought, oh, where did he come from? Of course, it was a still picture. Anyway, this I would love to put on it, except for it's missing a gem. So if I could find it in here, I could just like glue it on, but I doubt very seriously I'll find it. So this is a one that is big enough. It's fairly large. I have some larger ones coming. So I'm really, they won't be here for a little while. I have this one that might look good. This is blue. It's bigger, but I don't think the blue would look, actually, maybe not so bad. Y'all should tell me what you think, because I need your help as far as picking out which one I'm going to put in the middle. This is another one that might work, except it might be too close to the color. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Okay, so I think that these are going to be the options, and if you see something you like, let me know. Well, I keep seeing other things as I'm going along, so these are our choices. Need something bigger. Hi, whoever said good morning. It's good night. Okay, so this, I don't think it's going to work. That's blue. It's more turquoisey. Probably not for this. Again, this was the bell. It's okay. It sticks up a little bit too much. It's so layered that it has a thickness to it. I don't know if I want the bell sticking up there too. So this is what I want, but it's missing a gem, so that's not going to happen. So now this is an interesting piece. There's a contrast as far as kind of different. I kind of might like it a little bit. I don't know. So this is like almost like a blue. So it's a blue on top of the red, which is kind of a different contrast. And that is that. This is a green, but also it's big enough. So this one kind of goes right in the middle. See? So it's kind of a green gem. You can't see it so well in the light. But that one doesn't look too bad, and the size is nice. Did I do this one already? So this is one I showed earlier. I think that might be the one. See, it kind of just takes up enough room there in the middle. So you almost need a larger piece. So we got that. We had this. I thought this would be interesting because it almost looks like it's a bow. And this has black on it. But you'd have to have it just right. It's more of a bow. So, not liking that too much. Still going back to that one. So I think it's going to be, this one really. It still has the gold in it. It's big enough. I think that's probably going to be the one. So I'm going to glue that. And I actually have other things around here somewhere that I could use. I have lots of boxes of stuff, all over the place. Actually, I just remembered a place where I have it upstairs. Pretty sure it's in my living room on my table underneath. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and put on in the center of that. So that will be the embellishment. You can use buttons. I've even used the little rocks, like the glass rocks that you use for like planter or vases, or the designer I've used those before. I've used all kinds of things. Buttons. I've used a lot of. I love to use check buttons because check buttons. I don't have any really good ones right now, but check glass buttons are so pretty, and I have probably used up all my pretty ones, but I did have a couple of check buttons. Not many. This is a check button. You can get them off of eBay a lot of times, lots of them. I usually buy them in lots and not singly because it's just too much. But they have some very pretty buttons, of which I really don't have any right now. So this is basically done, except for I need to put the handle on it. So this is it. It is 3-layer, or actually, yeah, so it's 3-layer, 1, 2, 3, and then it has embellishment on front of it. And I wish you could see this a little bit better. Let me see if I can dim the light to make it look where you can see it better. So that is it. And then I'm going to put the handle on it, which, again, when I was making this smaller and cutting some of the off of it, then you end up getting the handles basically when you do that. I also use ribbon. I have tons of it here somewhere. Plenty of ribbon that's the size too. I've used kind of a rope type thing. I think one of them had a rope type thing. So for instance, I've used this type of thing. This comes by itself. Whatever you can use for a handle. This I actually used a bigger ribbon and kind of put it over and over. But I do tend to like to use repurpose things and use things like that. So I like this too, though. Then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to put it on the end, again, I put the felt circle on, and usually the felt circle I use is bigger than this. So I usually use a big one. When I do this and I go to put the handle on, I really pay attention. I pay attention to my seams, which I always keep at the bottom. So my seams are here. I always make sure whatever I'm using here, this is the center piece, and so this is what I also go by. So I have the seams here on the bottom. This is the centerpiece. I really want that top peak to be the highlight of it. So I really pay attention to that when I am gauging where I'm going to put the handles. So the handles, I'm going to kind of adhere to that. So I'm going to make it, loop it, just loop it. You don't need it to be too big of a handle. And I'll have a little bit of excess here. So there's also a forgiving spot where you can readjust it and so forth after you first put the glue on. This one's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to cut a smidge off. Now, you can also do it later after you glue it. It doesn't have to be now. And I'm going to go ahead and put my glue on. So I just usually put 2 lines of glue on each side for the handle. And once I put this on, I really, again, look at the front. And so I look at the front and how it's laying, and I might have to adjust this. So I put it back on here where that is, and then I move it around to the front to make the adjustments. So again, I wanted that peak to be where it needs to be, so I really center this based on that. One thing I learned to do is this. Let me get this situated first, and then, so you put the handle on, and even if you put the felt on the back, I'm going to use the bigger piece of felt to put on the back of it. So I put my felt on top of it, and it kind of finishes it off and kind of covers up, that part. But so I'll put that on it, but you need to, again, really pay attention to where this is laying. And once you put that on, it does not mean that, I have to really look at this, does not mean that you are done as far as adjusting. Now see, I already find some problems with here in the pleating. So sometimes when you're doing your handle, you have to really look at your pleats again and try to decide how your handle is going to lay. And so one thing I learned, and I made several where I did not do this, is that you have to attach the handles up here. You have to put a spot of glue at the very top and attach your handles and anchor them here at the top. Otherwise, your handle, it's just going to flop over, especially with this much weight on it and this many layers. So give me just a second to eye this. I haven't actually put the back on here yet. The pleats in this one are just giving me a little bit more of a challenge. That's where I want it, so I just kind of mark it here. Where I want to put my glue. I just kind of keep my finger there. Go ahead and just put a dot of glue. You don't need much on there, and you don't want much because otherwise it's going to show in the front, and this is hotter than so just a little bit of glue, and that adheres that part. I kind of made that a little messy, and let's see, then the other side I'm going to do real quick, and then I'll show you what I did. I think I want it there. I hope I made the right decision. This one has a kind of billowing pleats, so I'm going to do my last one here. So this is my last little bit here, except for adhering the back circle. So, yeah, not quite where I want it. not as pleased with this one and where it's laying, but it is what it is. And a lot of it has to do with the heaviness of it because it's so many layers. But I'm going to show this to you in just a second. So I'm going to put the finishing piece on it, which is the bigger piece of felt over that, so it kind of covers up some of your work. So that is actually the last part of it, and then we are done, and voila. Okay, so this is it. So last piece, which is this, and they do have, I think, some self-adhesive circles that you can get as well. I've never done those. I've just always hot glued them on. So then you always have to deal with all the glue stuff. But this is the piece. This is the completed piece. It's a little top heavy. This one I might actually, I'm just trying to figure out if I want to put a piece of glue hidden underneath here to bring, I think maybe I will, to make it so it supports it a little bit more so it's not so top heavy. I'm going to hide it so maybe there you go, so you can't really see it amongst the layers. So I'm going to do that and see if that makes a difference. I've never had to do that before, but I don't very often make the 3-layer ones. I'm too lazy most of the time. I just do the 2. So I don't know if that took or not. Let's see. I think that helped a little bit. So this is the end product. This is the ornament. So there you go. I am done. You too can make these. They're very easy. Then you have all the glue hair. Call it angel hair. It sounds better. Which you might have to kind of get off of your thing, especially on this red. But actually, that turned out pretty good. It's actually much more lovely in person than I've seen it come through there. But this is a nice one. So thank you all for joining me. I am going to sign off and hope that we all learned something today. If there's anybody that wants to do crafts, we'll call it pop craft, just let me know. You will be the one doing it though. So if there's a time where you want to demonstrate how to do a craft, then let me know and get in touch with me, and that would be great. This might be the one and only episode of this, but anyway, thanks for watching. You all have a very blessed day. It's nighttime here. It's about 9:30. Love and blessings to you all. Take care. Bye.